Welcome back to Man Across New Horizons. I'm Dear Darling, and should we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today, where nothing's happening, I suppose. I thought something was going to happen, but no, there's still 2 days to Halloween, and the Halloween event's probably not even going to be anything particularly different compared to what it was last year. What was it last year? I can't even remember. I'm looking at the pillow next to me as if this pillow is going to tell me the answers. Was it like we went around to the villagers asking, trick-or-treating them? I don't know, something like that. Well, what else has happened recently? Well, I guess we'll get into that. Hello everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 4:53 PM on Friday, October 29th, 2021. Now for today's announcements, once we visit staying at the campsite. Of course, we're only looking for Fauna. See if she's here, and if she's not, then so be it. Yeah, sorry, the thing I was going to say is there was a recent, I don't even know what the showcase was, but there was some, like, game announcement area thing to make adults do. There's one thing I'd like to tell you, okay? Muscles aren't built in a day. Intense daily training is everything. Don't be a sacker. Okay, that's it. In it to win it, tank. Is that a new... I swear I've never seen that letter before. At least when we're Jock Villager. It is Friday, but we don't have red visiting. No, the thing I was going to say is there's some sort of, not conference, but, you know, like an expo, I guess, where they showed off some new games or whatever. I think it's like a Sony one. Apparently, Bugsnax is getting an update. It's called, like, the Island of Big Snacks, which is interesting because, well, if you haven't seen the Bugsnax, let's play through now or don't want to. Oh, I know you. Hold on, I know you. I know you. I know your name. I know your name. You're a hamburger sheep. You are... I don't know, like salsa or something? Frita, that's it. I was like, salsa doesn't sound right. Yeah, Bugsnax getting a new update called the Isle of Big Snacks or whatever, which is, from what I can tell, it's not a sequel. It's not like a... Well, I mean, I guess it is a DLC because it's technically like an add-on or something, or like a free update. Well, I guess it's... Well, yeah, I mean, it's a free DLC. I was going to be like, does DLC have to be paid? And I was like, no, it's just got downloadable content, isn't it? Yeah, which is pretty exciting. Pretty interesting, I suppose. You might be... First question, are you going to go and play it? Maybe. And... I say maybe, because also, you know, like other games I've played in the past have also gotten updates, which I've also never gone back to look at yet. It's always in the back of my mind, being like, if we need like a few filler episodes of something, being like, oh, you know, like if in this case of Life is Strange or whatever, like imagine if it came out like a week later, being like, oh, I want to start playing Life is Strange, but it's not going to come out for a week, and we need to fill in like 2 episodes of the story game slot, then, you know, maybe I'll play one of those. But, you know, like Bug Fables, again, it had a post-release update or something. I'm not sure how sizable it is, but it at least introduced some things, including at least one extra fight against Team... Oh, what have they got? Team Slacker? It's been so long since I played a game, it's kind of hard for me to recall. Yeah, but Bugsnax got an update, the Isle of Big Snacks. I assume what it is, it takes place during the main story, like before you know... Spoilers... partial, like, hinted at spoilers, things happen at the end of Bugsnax, which mean you can't really go back to the island. So I assume it's meant to be like within that sort of period, but I don't know. I don't know, because like after you beat the game and you come back to play it again, I suppose restarting it, like, for me personally, I never want to restart a game unless playing through the game again basically results in an entirely different game. For example, you know, like Undertale doing a genocide route or something versus a pacifist neutral route. And thankfully, for the pacifist route, through my playthrough for Undertale, like I only had to restart a little bit because the only thing I missed out on was Undyne's date and of course Alphys's stuff. But yeah, like playing through an entire game, there's very few games where I'd be willing to play through again. Most exceptions to that are kind of co-op games. I'm totally okay with playing through co-op games again with a different set of people about something. Like, I suppose because in that case it does feel completely different. While the game itself isn't necessarily different, it's more like the people are different, right? So, you know, I guess that's kind of more revealing. Like, the first time I'm playing it through for the game, the second time I'm playing it through for the people I'm playing with. But I'm trying to think of how many single-player games have there been which I've played through again. Now, I think probably the answer to that is most of them being from when I was younger, when I didn't have, like, such a wide selection of video games at my fingertips ready to play at any second. Because nowadays, I suppose I follow the sole logic is that I could play through this game again, which, you know, probably I do know it's a game I really like, so I guess there's that sort of, like, safety net surrounding it, being like, oh, you know, I like this game, so, you know, I'll like playing through it again, which I don't necessarily think is true. exactly, but like it's conceptually, and I probably won't like hate it or anything. It'll just be at worst a neutral experience. But it's like, why would I play this game when I could just play a different game again, right? You know, like the only time I think I'd restart an entire game is if it's been like years since I last played it, and I'm going to restart it because I basically don't remember anything functionally about it. In which case, it's essentially like I'm playing it all over again. So I'm trying to think. Okay, games which I have played again, despite remembering things about it. The only one I can think of off the top of my head is Plants vs Zombies, and I guess Pokemon Silver, kind of. But that's also like there was a huge stretch of time before I played Pokemon Silver again. And technically in between I played Pokemon Heart Gold, which is, you know, the like remake of it. But yeah. So I think it's unlikely I'm going to revisit it again. I mean, yeah, it happened to other games, you know, Bug Fables again, and they've had like a post-content update. Spiritfarer's got like some DLC characters and that sort of thing. And it's a thing where I don't want to revisit it, and part of the reason is because, you know, it feels weird, I suppose, sort of like revisiting a game which I've already spent a lot of time in, and like it feels like I've reached the final chapter and completed everything, and then now it's like, oh, you can go back into it if you want, like 6 months later after you kind of can't remember anything about the game anymore. But also part of it is these games are all their content now, for content updates which I haven't gone back to look at, are the ones which don't take place like after the end game. But these aren't sequels per se, these are just like filling out the middle part I already had. I'm filling out the middle part of the game, which is like, I mean, it's cool, like don't get me wrong, like getting more content is always cool, and if you're a person who hasn't played a game yet and you get to experience more content, awesome. I'm not going to advocate against that, but for me personally, after having already beaten the game, I already feel like I put, like, you know, the pin in it and everything. Going back in just to play a little bit of a middle again feels kind of weird to me, I suppose. It's not really something I particularly want to do. It's just more like I feel like a moment's gone, you know. I want to, I suppose, experience the game from start to finish, rather than being like from start to finish and then an extra middle section like otherwise. Which is weird, because I suppose that's different to how I approach stories. Like after I finish reading, like, for example, you know, I finished reading Beastars or something, like that entire main arc got finished, and after that's done, the creator started releasing Beast Complex chapters, which are sort of just like, not, well, I don't know if it's necessarily the same, because I suppose, using my own analogy, it'd be like, she wrote like extra chapters in between. She like Beastars has like 160, 150 chapters or so. She wrote like chapter 82.3, 82.5 or something, like a midway chapter to like flesh out the characters, which is not really what she did. She just wrote like more side characters in that same world, more side stories in that same world, or sequel-esque stories. So I guess that's kind of different. But I feel like conceptually, me approaching the idea of like hearing more fleshed out, I suppose, stories within the universe, within the timeline that the main arc, I suppose, takes place, it's still kind of interesting, I suppose. It's for some reason, it's more appealing when going back and playing through, oh, hello, Gulliver, a game which I've already played through most of it and reached an end of, you know? And I'm not entirely sure why that is the case. So yeah, you know, talking out loud, even though I did say maybe I'll go back and visit the Bugsnax and Bug Fables and Spiritfarer extra content they released, and that's true, it's still technically a maybe. It's just unlikely, I'd say, unless many years have passed, in which case I might revisit it again. Maybe it would be accompanied with a playthrough if it's a game I super enjoyed or something like that. But most of those games I don't think will... You're really hard pressed to find a game, I suppose, nowadays where I'm super willing to play through it again. Like, even my favourite games, like Undertale is definitely my favourite game. Would I play through it again? Maybe. Maybe. I feel like it's different, because a lot of my favourite games tend to be story games, and playing through them again is, I suppose, a different sensation to playing through, like, say, a strategy game again, or a game like, I don't know, Disco Elysium, where it changes up every single time you play through it. Yeah, but even, like, I suppose even, like, some of my favourite games, like Night in the Woods, that's definitely one of my favourite games. You can even choose, like, different branching paths and everything, but I still never gotten around to doing my second playthrough of it again. And I'm not sure why. I don't think, you know, I'm trying to pull out all these sort of justifications, being like, oh, I don't want to, you know, relive a story again, or like it feels like it's reached its conclusive end in my mind. Well, there is, I think, elements of a truth to that. I think perhaps overall it's just sort of like, I don't like revisiting games. Once a game's done, it's like, that's it for me. I don't really want to go back and play through a game. It's sort of like an inertia thing, perhaps. I'm not really sure how to describe it, you know. Inertia being like a concept of like it's easier to keep something moving, which is already in motion, rather than like from something that's not moving to moving. It's a terrible way to explain it. But yeah, I think that's probably just it, you know. Like when I start a game, I just want to like power through and get to the end of it. Well, not power through and get to the end, but like do it continuously until I get to the end. And when it's at the end, that the game's stopped rolling. It's reached the bottom of a hill, and then it's like, oh, you know, you can actually go a bit lower if you just like have to push it along the ground for a bit more. And I was like, nah, I'm alright. And I'm just gonna go back to the top of a hill and push another rock down it or something. You might not follow that analogy, which I think is fair enough because I don't think it actually made any sense, but it made sense in my mind. It's just like it's harder to start a game than it is to continue a game, continue and start a new game. Harder to continue on from a game you've already played than to start a new game all over again. For me personally, and your mileage may vary. But I suppose it's different if it's like a sequel. Like I'm totally okay with like playing a sequel because I suppose it's sort of like starting a new thread in my mind. And that's how it goes. I suppose it also depends how long it's been since I played it. Because if I had like, instead of just finishing Life is Strange, if I just had finished Bugsnax or something, then maybe I'd be more likely to pay it a visit. But now, like, obviously it's been quite a few months or something, you know, that sort of like Bugsnax area of my brain, that Bugsnax thread in my brain is like been put to rest. It's like, man, that's it. It's reached its finality. I put that book back on the shelf and it's now on the display case of like games I finished. And now it's just like, oh, you know, you can insert these pages into it. And I'm like, nah, it's alright. I'm fine with it how it is. I'm sure it's, I guess it's because I'm so like story driven and so like character arc driven, I suppose, when I play these sort of games, it's sort of like ruining the story for me in a certain aspect. Like I'm gonna have to like inject this new character development and story development, which is perfectly fine, but I'm injecting it into like characters and stories who have already reached the finale, who reached the end of their journey. So it's sort of just like this doesn't really feel not appropriate, but I feel like it sort of ruins could potentially ruin the sort of image I already got in my mind, because then, you know, I had to inject the story and then I had to like finish the story all over again. If you are ill, so we'll get you some medicine, and then I had to finish the story through to the end to actually like completely resolve a character arc, and I don't know, it's weird. But yeah, there's not many games I've actually like played through multiple times. I can only think of Plants vs Zombies as like a single player game, which I played through twice, and Pokemon Silver, but yeah, again, that doesn't really count. I don't know, this is where I look at my Steam inventory and I try and draw some conclusions. Terraria, that's true, but that's also a multiplayer game. I feel like multiplayer games are kind of like in a different category in my mind for me. Like single player games, highly unlikely I'm going to play through them again, unless it's completely different, but multiplayer games, completely fine with playing again. Also, the Steam Halloween sale has started if you want to pick up any spooky games. Or don't, I don't know, up to you. Okay, so let's see. What of these games have I played? I'm just having a little bit of a look down. Now, Bad Boys U is interesting, because Bad Boys U is probably one of the closest of like my favourite games that I'd be willing to play again. And interestingly, it's a genre which I wouldn't think I want to play again. It's a puzzle game. But that's because I want to play through it again so I can sort of like write a guide for it at some point. I want to write a guide for these sort of puzzle games because I find them very... I want to entice people to play puzzle games who might not necessarily give it a chance because they find them too difficult or too like you know, they're not willing to invest like tons of time to solve like an arbitrary puzzle, which is, by the way, completely fair. But if you can lower that sort of barrier to entry to some people, then I think that's more fun. Terraria has a new news update. It's still updating? How? Oh, okay, so we're still scrolling down these things. What are these? I don't think I played any of these games multiple times. All of these seem to be one and done games. Like even Cuphead. Cuphead was a game where I played it through and I was like, okay, maybe I'll go back and play through all the bosses again. I mean, the entire game is bosses, now I think about it. And play through all the bosses and try and get like a perfect rank on them. But then I did that for like the first two bosses and I was like, I don't really want to do this anymore. So I just stopped. It's just, I suppose I'm too driven by the aspect of being like, oh, I want to play a different game after I've finished playing this one game. I was like, instead of playing this game through again, why don't I play a different game? Which is interesting because like, to a certain degree, like I hear a lot about people like rewatching like series or shows or things that they like Parks and Rec or something along those lines, and I guess I'm just not that sort of person to revisit things I've already got. Like, already got it in my brain and don't need to watch it again. Not necessarily true, exactly, but, you know, it's a comedic take on the whole situation. I suppose that's true, yeah. I can't even think of a TV show I've watched multiple times. I think I watched Lucky Star twice, but that's because I watched it once when I was very young, and I watched it again when I was like a teen/young adult. Yeah, even my favourite animes I don't think I've watched. Like, I haven't even watched Madoka again. I haven't even finished watching Beastars. so some things I haven't even watched once. You think I'm going to watch something twice? I suppose that's part of it as well, you know. Why would I watch this one thing I've already done and watched again when I could watch something else, which I also, you know, there's just like an endless list of things I always want to see, watch, and experience, right? So why would I do something which I've already experienced when I could just do something different instead? And honestly, your mileage may vary. Like, I understand why you would watch things again, you know, there's a sense of comfort. Sometimes you want to reminisce, sometimes things are just that good that you want to experience it all over again, sometimes you just forget things. I wonder how much of it is contributed by the fact that I tend to remember things quite well, but I tend to not want to relive things again, because oftentimes I have seen things over again, but oh wow, both the people I need to give a gift to. Phoebe, why did you just sit down? But yeah, things I want to experience again. I have like revisited things I want to do. I've experienced it in the past, but a lot of the times I've done it and I'm just like, hey, you know, like you get to a part I remember, and be like, oh yeah, I already remember this part, and I'm like, I guess I'll watch it, or maybe I'll skip through it or something like that. It doesn't feel the same. I don't know why. I seem to be missing a part of my brain which gets the same sort of or similar levels of enjoyment out of it, which other people seem to have, and if anything, it's a bit sad, isn't it? That's potential endorphins, potential memorable experiences I could be missing out on. There you go. No, Phoebe, you're not allowed to sit down. Not yet, at least. Wait to give you a fossil. Oh, you know what? How to a Boyfriend I did play through multiple times. That doesn't really count though, because it's a visual novel. Sorry, no, a dating sim. Well, more accurately, it's a parody of a dating sim, but that has multiple endings, so you know, I don't really know if that really falls into the same sort of categories. Like, of course, you play through like visual novel games multiple times to get different endings, and even then, you're not really playing through it again. It's more like you play it through once, like naturally, and then you play through it again, but you skip all the parts you've already seen using a fast forward button. Or if you're very lucky, the game might have a jump to next selection button, which you'll skip forward to when you can actually make a selection, and then you can choose a different selection at that point. So yeah, that does certainly feel very different. So really what I got to learn is that if I want to 100% a game, I really got to do it in one fell swoop, otherwise I'm never going to come back to it ever again. Okay, of course, these multiplayer games I played again, like the Jackbox games I played multiple times, but there's not really an end of them. Keep talking, nobody explodes? I don't even know if I finished this game. Obviously this is another multiplayer game, but still. 7 out of 10 achievements unlocked. The Steam client is really annoying because if I take it up as half a screen so I can still look at my microphone and talk about it, I can't see everything. Locked achievements. Defuse all the bombs in extreme section, so we're missing some. Defuse 100 bombs. Season trailer, defuse all the bombs in the exotic section. Maybe this is something to revisit again so I can actually finish playing through this game. Phoebe's photo! I didn't even notice! I didn't even talk about it because I didn't even notice. Okay, so Tank is the only person left to give presents to. We'll keep one of these fossils, I guess. Wait. Yeah, we can sell that. We've made that before. Sorry, it's just slowly dying. No, has Keep Talking Nobody Explode? Has it updated to include like different modules yet? Because I remember it's been so long. I played it. When did I last play this? 2019 September 8th. That's not even when I first started playing this. 2016. And when I played it in 2019, they still hadn't updated it. Not saying it's a bad thing, like, oh, why have these indie devs not finished updating their game or that sort of thing, but I was sort of just more surprised if anything. I was more like, oh, you know, this seems like a game ripe prime for just like adding new modules to, and it seems really not easy to necessarily, but it feels like it's a very modular sort of game, so it feels like it would fit right in, maybe not like maybe not with the greatest of ease, but like seamlessly sort of fit in mechanics wise, I guess. I don't really know how to quite phrase it. Let's see. The manual, has it updated? It's still version 1. I've heard there's a big modding community in this game. If that's how you're so inclined. Wow, it hasn't been updated since 2020. Wow. I'll buy it. And we'll buy another one just to get 5,000. You can play it in simplified Chinese. Okay, never mind. What other sort of games have I played through multiple times? Magica? No, I don't think I played. Monaco I played kind of through multiple times. Again, another multiplayer game, bro. Well, I played a multiplayer. I just don't like revisiting things. I'm really realising this now. It's only been Plants and Zombies. It's only when I was younger I'd revisit things, but that's because I didn't have as many things to play, I suppose. And I suppose perhaps this is also why I tend to like having games which I can continuously visit, like sort of daily, and play a small amount, like a continuous stream of playing a game, rather than ones which have an end point of them. You know, it's why I tend to like playing some of these gacha games, not necessarily because of the gacha elements themselves, but much more so because of the fact that like I can revisit it each and every day. It's a continuous process of playing this game throughout an extended period of time, rather than like at some point it coming to an end and then I'll just never pick it up again. I wonder if that's, you know, part of a contributing reason of why I play these sort of gacha games. I never really thought about it. Yeah, I'm looking at these. None of these games I've played multiple times. Tell me why. Sorry, I don't know what game it is, but it's in my inventory. Tiny Brains. That is actually technically a game I played through multiple times, but once I played it through... Oh, I bought 3 watering cans apparently. Once I played it through multiplayer, once I played it through single player, but the single player mode I played through was hardcore mode, and that was also because that's when we moved house. Ages ago, and I didn't have any internet, so I downloaded a load of games to play offline, and this was one of them for some reason. Because there weren't many guides about it at the time, and so I looked through all the levels to find all the cheeses, and I think I still have a notepad document on my computer being like, cheese locations and Tiny Brains, in case you ever... I mean, surely someone's written a guide about it now. I wonder when the last time it's been updated. Hold on, what was this game called again? Tiny Brains? Let's see. I'm still missing 3 locked achievements. Still got a lot of community content about it. Adorable. Last played 2017. That's crazy. That long ago, huh? Community hub. Guides. Someone's surely written a guide about this. Sturgeon bell cricket. Bell cricket's doable, sturgeon's not. How to unban a friend. And how to have fun for the rest of your life. Those are literally the only 2 guides. Maybe I should write a Tiny Brains guide. Because, I mean... I know where all the cheese locations are. I know how to get probably all the achievements. I don't know what these last 3 achievements are, to be honest. Finish 1 match of Tiny Soccer Mode. 12,000 centimeters or higher and saucer ball. And so ball washer and 715 saucer ball. I don't know what that means. Catch bugs, catch fish. Alright. Alright. I guess. Sturgeon. Where is sturgeon? Is sturgeon a dockfish? I can't remember. Torchlight? I mean, some of these games, the ones I actually have played through multiple times, are games which I played through and we got a certain distance and we didn't finish it. And we were like, oh, you know what? And then like many years later, we're like, oh, we should play through this game and actually finish it because it's a pretty cool game. But then we, you know, it's been so long since we last played it, I don't really remember what to do. So we restart the entire thing in the first place to try and get back to it. Really, I really just have to play a game through all the way to the end. Otherwise, I'll never see the end. As soon as I stop playing it, as soon as the hiatus, very unlikely I ever come back to that game. It's very enlightening, very enlightening. Unrailed? Yeah. We were here. West of Loathing. Yeah, almost none of these games I've played through multiple times. That's weird. I can't even think of TV series where I've watched like things multiple times. That's the thing, I don't watch many TV series. I watch a lot of cartoons. The only times I'd watch through a cartoon series multiple times is if there was a rerun of an episode and I wanted to watch that episode. And I don't want to watch that show. Like, I remember there's an episode of like Shaolin Showdown, which I wanted to watch again. It was on TV. I remember... I don't know why I remember this memory, it just came to mind, but I was watching Challenge Showdown and being like, oh, I want to see this episode. My mum was like, oh, you need to do something or go to sleep or, like, I don't know, do homework or something. I can't remember exactly. I was like, oh, just let me watch this episode. And then my mum looked at the show and was like, hey, you watched this episode before? And I was like, what? How did you remember? Obviously, at the time, I was like, oh man, she actually looked at that episode of Challenge Showdown and remembered it. But for some reason, the episode I remember is the one where Jack had a load of like a cheerleading robots or something. Maybe she saw that and she actually did recognise it. And my mother actually was just like, hey, you watch this episode, go do what the thing you need to do. And I was like, oh, fine. Or maybe it was just a lucky guess. Or maybe she just like, you know, looked at the cartoon and was like, oh, this is a cartoon. Maybe not necessarily the exact same episode. I don't know. I've way big brain sort of parenting techniques over there. You know, I suppose that's also part of the reason why I've even played New Horizons for so long, is because I've basically not stopped playing it since release, which is why I've managed to continue playing it for this long. Like New Leaf, I played for a decent amount of time actually. Once I started on Halloween. I got it on Halloween, I remember that, and I played it for quite a while, and then I stopped them, and I basically didn't return to it for like 6 years or something. Maybe not that long. As soon as I stop, like, the ball doesn't get rolling again when it comes to media consumption. I'm trying to think of like what animes have I even seen. Like, well, the list isn't very long. There's like, okay. So I'm trying to think of the earliest animes I've seen. Lucky Star, I think, was probably the first anime I've ever watched. I don't know why. It just was. All Around Host Club, High School Host Club, whatever it's called. Watched that very early on, but never watched that again. Fruits Basket. That actually has a remake, so maybe I should watch it again at some point. I don't know. Because the only anime I would even consider watching would be the ones which I've seen like ages, years and years ago, which I don't even remember. Like, I mean, as much as I like My Hero Academia, I don't intend to watch it, like, again, I suppose, until like maybe like 15 years down the line or something, when I'm reminiscing about it, sort of. But even if I'm reminiscing about it, I'll probably watch it and be like, oh, I just kind of remember all the things which happened, mostly. There was no point to me in watching it. There was no point for me to watch it again. That's just kind of sad, isn't it? I just made myself a little bit sad about this. I made myself sad today. Not really that sad, to be honest. It's not really that tragic a thing in the end, but, like, I don't know. While other people are sort of revisiting their favourite things in the past and whatever, I have no sort of, like, incentive. Not even incentive, I have no desire to. In the slightest. And in some ways that's sad, because it's sort of like, oh, you know, is that really all that... or something is to me once I've had, once it's like something I've watched and appreciated and had fun with, that's it. It's gone from my memory entirely. No, of course not. It's still there in my memory of that sort of thing, even if I don't have to experience necessarily the source material again. I don't know. This has been enlightening to me. This is me talk about things that I just wanted to reflect on, I suppose. And not even, this isn't like a deep philosophical talk or anything. It's just interesting, I suppose. I wonder how common it is for people to like revisit things that they've done in the past, like watch old shows or whatever. It certainly is a strong sense of comfort, I'd imagine, but to a certain extent, it's not really comforting, I suppose, if you're watching it being like, I can just remember exactly what happened. If anything, if I were to watch something again, I would watch like the highlights of it, you know, like the edited compilations that people put on YouTube, where, you know, like whatever character being based for 10 minutes straight or something. Or being in an absolute mood for whatever, or like blah 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 out of context. I know, you know, all these like clips and edits of like the best moments of these things I've watched in the past. I think that's probably what I want to do, despite the fact that I tend to like a much slower, much more emotionally poignant moments in media again. Or perhaps it's the sort of thing like in my mind I'm just like, oh, you know, I don't want to do it because it feels like a waste of time revisiting something I've already like consumed once. But maybe if I do play a game I played before again, I'd just be like, yeah, this is awesome. But I think a lot of the problem is having to go through the drudgery of doing things that I've already done before, which is not enjoyable. I just want to experience new content. That's, I think, probably part of the reason why I haven't gone back to visit Ninth Woods again. It's like, oh, you know, I want to see what Greg's story was, but at the same time I don't want to have to play through the rest of the game again just to get to Greg's story. And plus, everyone knows that even if I wanted to stick to Greg's story as much as I could, nothing... It's a cardinal sin to not go look at B's third story. That scene. I can't even remember it very, very vaguely. The club scene, I suppose. That's my non-spoilers take on B. B story. Hits hard, man. But like in a good way. I suppose to say that for most sad things, hits hard in a good way. You know. I don't mean that like in a sadistic way. It's like, oh, I take pleasure in watching these people, these fictional characters suffer. It's more like, oh man, you know, I watch them and I'm like, oh, what a sad story. It's so good. love me some sad story. Oh, we should go get some, I forgot, medicine for Vivian. Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of happened in Life is Strange True Colours. Some very sad scenes where at the moment, to be fair, I was quite quiet during the entire thing, but in my mind I was like, this is This is so good. Like character building, it's enlightening, it's heart-wrenching at the same time. But in the moment, you know, I was just watching it. Also, like, I didn't want to tell any jokes or anything or say anything stupid during that sort of scene because I was like, it's not really the time for it, you know? Read the room. So it's a bit of a, what's it called, an aside. Talking about Life is Strange. Especially because those episodes aren't even going to come out for like a month and a week or something. I think the finale comes out on like somewhere near the start of December, which is ages away. Hilarious how much that backlog's built up. But yeah, and you know, at some point I'm going to start recording a new Ori game, but I also need to draw a thumbnail art for it. I wonder when I need to finish out a thumbnail art by. Hold on. What's my backlog for Celeste? Medicine delivery. Let's see. It's so stupid. You can see my YouTube studio where it's just like 4 episodes of Life is Strange and a couple of episodes of Talos Principle interspersed, and then like, you had to scroll down for like a whole page, and then there's Celeste. November 10th. So I got about 20 days. No, 10 days. Wow. Okay. When am I gonna have time to draw this thumbnail art? Tomorrow? Next week? I guess next week maybe. Oh no, I can't next week. I'm gonna have to find the time. Don't you worry about it. And if I don't, oh well. But I guess we'll round up this episode here. So, what other sort of things, media properties, have you revisited in the past? What's your experience with them? Do you revisit things a lot? Do you not? I don't know. I suppose that's up for you to tell me. But anyways, if you have been watching, thank you very much. This has been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Dear Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares are greatly appreciated. Join the Dear Darling Discord, follow me on Twitter down below. Hope we see each other again, but for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye-bye for now.